Welcome back into the Enrichment Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine, where there is no better place to buy a boat. Not only do they have the biggest selection of boats anywhere in East Tennessee and North Georgia and Western North Carolina, for that matter, but they also have tremendous customer service. Those folks, I can vouch for them. Bob Hodge can vouch for them. He bought a boat down there that had a factory issue with seats. So he called them and said, I've got a factory issue with seats. They said, bring it down here. Got it fixed. Madisonville Marine does a spectacular job. Check them out this week. All right, want to welcome in the guys on the set here. We got Sterling Hinton, former Vol quarterback, Bobby Scott, former Vol quarterback, Mike Strange, Knoxville News Senator. Senator. You got the glasses, I'm calling you Senator.
Senator Strange.
And media mogul Chuck Cavaleris right here. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us. I'm going to scrap the usual back and forth. Right. I'm just going to throw you out some bullet points here. You tell me how big a positive, how big a negative, that kind of stuff. Chuck, I'm going to start with you. Butch Jones let time run off the clock at the end of the first half. He decided he would rather have 1:15 and 2 timeouts than 1:45 and 1 timeout. Is that a negative?
You know, it sure seemed like it at the time because you're down 17-3 and you're looking for something else positive to carry in. And you're thinking, if we could just get anything going here. In post-game comments, though, John, Butch Jones thought Tennessee was almost ahead at that time because his goal is to keep it close until the fourth quarter. So I could see what he was thinking, but at the time, I'm thinking that was a mistake to at least not call one of those timeouts and have some of that time.
All right. Anybody agree, disagree?
Well, I agree with Coach because, we got out of that first half with no turnovers. Why just go out there and just throwing Hail Marys or throwing out there willy-nilly when we had the ball first and second half? So I agree. Let it run. Let's go.
Okay. I thought, I think one thing he showed was some guys are gamblers, some guys are conservative. Seem to be situationally tuned in. I mean, yesterday it's like, all right, first half I'm going to be conservative. Second half you got a shot, then you open it up a little bit. I was impressed by that. What about the crowd? Sterling, I'll go to you because you were down there DJing, throwing a party. I heard there was some booing during the game early from some folks, which couldn't be more stupid. But they went nuts. They cheered the players off the field after the game. All those recruits there. What do you think the reaction was?
I even came up into the stands for a little bit during the game.
With the recruits?
In the recruit area, with the parents. It was electric. No one sat down the entire fourth quarter. And what I found to be amazing, which even made me more proud to be a Vol, is after the game, I lingered around the stadium. A couple of people came to me and said, Sterling, go get the team. Bring them back outside. We want to cheer them on. I said, well, they're hurting right now. And that in itself said so much about what yesterday's game meant to our Tennessee Vol Nation. And please, that stadium rocking like that, oh boy, it's been a long time since that's happened.
Well, go ahead, Bob.
Well, I was just going to say, and we had a boatload of recruits, and that was really great to have that kind of reaction from the fans and everything, and from those guys that hopefully will be here to help us get this thing turned around even more.
Not only the crowd atmosphere, but so many true freshmen made plays yesterday.
Yes.
I mean, that's you go to those kids and say, look, you can be doing that next year.
Sutton was all over the field again yesterday. That kid, he is a player. He is a player. He is always near the football. Bobby Scott, I'm going to give you a positive. I think you'll take it as a positive. Special teams. You always bark when there's a screw up. Yesterday, Michael Pilardi just continued to play well.
He had a big league leg yesterday. I mean, usually, he's all pumped up, and usually the first kickoff he kicks in the end zone. I mean, he was putting every kick just about, especially on the kickoffs. He was putting them in the end zone. They wasn't getting the chance to run it back. I felt like that the block punt was just it was just great. It was timely.
Yeah,
we got it right when we needed it. It's this kind of sticks in your craw a little bit that we didn't get that thing won when you had an opportunity.
Not just Michael Pilardi, but the punt coverage team on four returns where they actually attempted to return the ball. 0, 0, 0, -2.
Yeah. And that punt block was set up by a nice long punt by Michael Pilardi, pinned him deep.
Yeah, he averaged 51 yards.
Special teams did a great
He had one that went in the end zone. It was 65 yards, and then he had the 50-yarder.
We said this offseason that you really can't trust what you're going to get out of Pilardi because kickers go from great to awful and awful to great with no rhyme or reason year to year. And Michael Butler, the kid down at Georgia who'd been great for 3 years, had a terrible senior season. You look at Pilardi, glad for Tennessee fans, it's a total flip-flop. He went from guy you didn't trust to a guy you trust punting to a guy you trust kicking. I thought he did a nice job.
And because he is so good at everything, you got 2 guys on scholarship over there, kickers, that haven't been in the game yet.
Wow.
All right, and throw this one out. A lot of people seeing this as a negative. I think a portion of it could be a negative. We brought it up a few weeks ago. We asked about Butch Jones' demeanor. I compared him to Will Muschamp. They were, he's not that bad. Yes, he is. He is exactly like Will Muschamp. But is that a negative? Is that a negative?
How can that be a negative? An intense coach?
See, I don't think it's a negative,
intense coach?
but you get a lot of people calling in saying they can read his lips. He's using foul language.
Chances are they never played the game. The people got to complain.
They've got their Puritan hat on.
You've got to stay. You got to stay within yourself, though. You don't do it. You don't go far enough to get yourself a penalty.
The penalty hurt. Yeah.
And that's. I mean, I like to see him animated and everything on the sidelines, but you get to a point where you got to say, "Hey, I'm gonna get my butt in a sling here if I'm,
you
not
can't have
careful."
Well, but you know that. You don't like a 15-yard penalty to start the half.
I don't like a penalty. I don't like a penalty.
Okay, well, that's all I'm saying.
He made a mistake, so he'll curb himself.
Yeah,
He's
that
a
doesn't
coach.
mean
He'll
you
curb
can't
himself.
discuss
he
it.
felt
It's
like
worthy
he
of
was
discussion.
right because Tennessee snapped the ball, and then it's like they buzzed in and said, "We're going to review the play."
Right.
So I mean, when you feel like you're right,
Absolutely.
and it shows how much he wants it. It's not like he's over there just indifferent.
I agree, but you don't get yourself a penalty.
And I'll bet it won't happen again.
Yeah.
I agree with the penalty thing completely. But at the same time, I think fans, and I said this a couple weeks ago when we brought it up, I think most fans, if they're sitting there screaming at the television, they want their coach to be screaming out there. They don't want, if they're mad at a guy for doing something dumb, they don't want to see that. They don't want to see a hug. They want to see the guy on the field screaming like they're screaming. I don't have a problem with it.
And what's more
Just don't
incredible
go too
about
far.
that statement that you just made, those guys are screaming at the TV and they're just watching the game. They didn't put the 100 hours up to the game of work.
And
that
real
didn't
quick,
happen.
I'd say the problem
work.
I may have is having a microphone in the heat of the battle.
Well, you can't hear him. You just see
I know,
him.
but you can still see him.
Yeah, but-
And it happens sometimes.
I just think, grow up. I mean, I'm sorry that I can read his lips. Well, maybe you shouldn't watch football. I mean, that's just a little silly. All right.
Hope people aren't
You know
reading my
why?
lips all day.
Because I will say, when we come back, we're going to give out the grades scorecard for this game. We still got to look at how to stop Jadeveon Clowney, UT's future opponents coming up. How many Vol wins can you expect the rest of the way? Tons to come. Come on back.